Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to the Virtual House Church. It's my blessing to be hosting you once again in this live stream. We are live as different as we did it last week. Fortunately, Jake and myself were traveling, so we didn't have the chance to have the live stream. But we are back here doing this Virtual House Church live. Uh, just having the time to partake and just to share the word of Yahuwah, study together the word of Yahuwah in this amazing day, in this amazing Shabbat. And it's my blessing to be here again sharing with you this portion of today. It was a blessing to spend some time with all of you in the chat last week. Usually I don't have the time to 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 share with you some things in the chat because it's difficult to be talking and writing at the same time. I always like to have my full attention on what I'm feeling in my heart and what I want to share with you. So it was a good experience to share with you last week on the chat. But here we are once again to start studying an amazing book. Today we're going to start studying the second book of Samuel, Second Samuel, and we are gonna see amazing things. I do believe that is so related to what we are living and facing in the world today. Yesterday when I was thinking on this portion of today, and I was praying to Allah, and I was feeling a few things that it blew my mind because somehow is totally related to what we see in this portion and what we see happening in the world today. And also, it's so beautiful to see how is everything in the hands of Yahuwah. He is in control of everything, and he does things sometimes in a way that we are unable to comprehend. And that's why we always need to focus in Him, searching and seeking His face in order to receive His understanding about what are His purposes to us and what are His purposes in these times. What is the purpose He has for you and for me, and what we have to do and what we have to react and what we have to do in our day to day life. So, I really hope that we are gonna talk about these points. Today, we are going to study from chapter 1 of Second Samuel until the end of chapter 3. So it's going to be 3 chapters. And, we decided to put these three together because they are totally related. And we will see something that started to happen, in the story of David. And it's a continuation, as you know, of everything that we were studying in the first book of Samuel. And it's so beautiful to see how Yahuwah put this plan for David and how Yahuwah is fulfilling his promise. And we will see it in this as we study and move forward with this book. So, most probably I'm going to be sharing this time with you alone today. I haven't heard about Jake. Most probably he's still traveling, but we are going to be attentive to see if he's going to join us today. But I really hope that we need to pray that to Yahuwah while you are hearing this broadcast, while you are studying with me this portion, so Abba can talk to us today, talk to me, talk to you, so he can open our understanding and he can open our eyes to his truth while we are studying his word. So something that we always do, and let me see, I'm using a new software here, StreamYard. Not used to this one, but let's see if I'm able to share my screen with you. Just be patient with me. In case you are new, and actually if you are not new, well, we always do this is just to invite you to visit the Virtual Hub Church website. And here, I think I have it, is over here. You should be able to see it. And let me put it in full screen. There you go. So it's just to invite you to Virtual House Church website. Just to remember all the time is that the Virtual House Church was a project started by our beloved brother Rob Skiva and his wife Sheila Skiva back on 2012. And you can find all the information about this in the website here, virtualhousechurch.com, about the story of Virtual House Church and about the obedience of Rob and Sheila, that because of their obedience, we are able to share this time together. We are able to continue with the Virtual House Church, and we are able to continue studying the Word of Yahuwah in this time that is so much needed. That we see so much darkness going over the world, that the only thing that we can do is to get closer and closer to Yahuwah, get closer and closer to Him, studying His Word. And, Virtual House Church has been helping us as a platform in order to gather ourselves virtually, in order to gather ourselves to study the word of Yahuwah. And we are doing it, at least for 2 years already during Shabbat. That is so much a blessing that we are able to partake together virtually, no matter where we are in the world, just to study the word of Yahuwah, to study and seeking His truth in this time of troubles by doing it during Shabbat. And this is such a wonderful blessing. So I will invite you to go to Virtual House Church website, to go to the different studies over here. Is the Torah cycle over here with all so much information collected throughout the years that is for our own benefit, the people of Yahuwah benefit, that we have been able to collect this information by Rob doing this work throughout the years in order to keep studying the word of Yahuwah. And actually, as if you visit one of the sites, you will go directly, one of the links, you will go directly to the new website of Virtual House Church. Is the new look and feel of Virtual House Church is the one in the screen. And actually, what Jay has been doing is to update in this week's study over there at the left column, with the studies we already did on the book of Joshua, the book of Judges, and the book of First Samuel. And for those of you that missed those studies, some of them are being uploaded in Rob Skiva channel. They are completely in the Light to the Nations channel, where we did all these studies in the past. And every week, our brothers of Virtual House Church have been uploading these studies for everybody to be able to see and to partake and to study together what we did in the past. I think we are uploading the ones of Devarim, Deuteronomy, and most probably we'll continue soon uploading these books of Joshua, Judges, and also First Samuel. So, I want to invite you once again to go and visit the Virtual House Church website to study by yourself all this information. And also to share this information with others. We haven't saying this most of the time, and we need to remember all the time that our purpose and why Yahuwah has been calling us to His kingdom is in order to bring light into this world. And what a perfect way to do it, by inviting people to join us in Virtual House Church, by inviting people to start studying from the very beginning through the Torah cycle, just to invite them to study the entire word of Yahuwah, the Old Testament and the New Testament, the entire scripture, is the only way that we are going to be able to find the truth. Something that I want to share with you, and I haven't, it's been in my heart, especially this week. It's a question that I think we need to ask ourselves all the time. Why we study the word of Yahuwah? What's the real purpose of studying the word of Yahuwah? We're doing it here in Virtual House Church. Most probably you are doing it at your own pace, in parallel to what we do here in Virtual House Church. But it's always important to ask ourselves why we do it. why we read the scriptures, why we study the word of Yahweh. And I think, while I was meditating on this week, uh, something came to my heart, because we can answer this question in multiple ways. It's just to understand the truth, just to understand the plan of Yahuwah, just to understand what's the way of Yahuwah and the salvation of our lives. There are multiple questions that we can multiple answers that we can have for that question. But you know what? Something that touched my heart while I was meditating on this is that there is one important aspect of why we do this, why we study the word of Yahweh. It's because we want to get closer to Yahweh, because we want to know Him. And in this time of troubles, where we see so many things going on in the world, it's so important that we need to know Yahweh, that we need to get closer to Him. And the one way to know Him is by knowing His heart, understanding His words, understanding what His desire, understanding what is His truth, understanding what is His plan for His creation, because everything that is in this world belongs to Him. We belongs to Him. And the only way that we are going to be able to know His heart, the only way that we are going to be able to get closer to Him is by knowing Him. And we are going to be able to know Him by studying His Word. But you know what is really important? That it's not enough. It's not enough to study the Word only. It's not enough. It's true, it's an important point, and we have to do it regularly. That's the only way we are gonna, that's the only way that He is going to write His words and His covenant in our heart every time that we study His Word. But it's not the only way. It's not enough. We need to get closer with our time. We need to get closer to Him with our prayers. We need to get closer to Him by worshiping Him. And, I always say this, first I'm speaking to me, and then I'm sharing this with you. And believe me, we all go through different situations, including myself. Sometimes that we're getting far away from Allah, other times that we're getting closer to Him and we can feel His presence within us. In any of those moments, if we are feeling that we are far away from Him, or if we are feeling that we are very close to Him, we need to remember and we need to let the Ruach guide us that the most important thing in our lives is to get closer and to know our Creator. There's so much confusion on the world. There's so much confusion in every place that the only place that we really are going to find shalom, peace, the only place that we are really going to find truth is by being beside Him. So remember, every time that you are studying the Word, is that we are doing it because we want to know Him, because we want to let Him to live within us. There are so many things I would like to share with you today, but I don't want to deviate from the portion, because I think there are important things to touch. So just invite you to remember this. We study the word of Yahuwah because we want to get closer to Him, but we want to combine this with prayer, with fasting, with praising, with worship, because that's the only way that we are going to invite Him to dwell in us. And by Him dwelling in us, is the way that we are going to get to know Him very close. So, before moving with the portion today, let me see if I can do something here. Jay has been sharing a very beautiful song, and I think I have it here, and I want to share with you before we move forward with the portion. So Let's see.
I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty God. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness.
That's really beautiful, you know. And with that spirit, I want to invite you to close your eyes, to lift your hands to heaven, and let's pray together before we start with this study. Yahuwah Elohim, we come to you in this moment with a humble heart. We lift our voices and our hands to Shemaim, your throne, your set apart throne, Abba, asking you that your presence be with us today, Shabbat. Asking you, Abba, that you can open our understanding, your truth. Asking, Abba, that you can forgive our sins, and humbly asking you can guide our steps in your way of righteousness. We acknowledge, Abba, that it is only in you that we find purpose to our life. We acknowledge that you are the only one, that you are the creator of the heavens and the earth, that in you we find shalom, that in you we find hope. And we are here, Abba, because we want to know you more, because we want to ask you, Abba, to create in us a new heart, to give us a new mind and give us a new ruach. We want to thank you because you took our hands and you took us out from the world in order to bring us in into your kingdom. And we hope for that day when your kingdom will be visible and will be established here on earth, because in that moment our joy will be complete. There will be no more suffering. There will be no more sadness. There will be pure joy and pure righteousness here on earth, as you intended at the very beginning when you created everything. Now, we want to ask you for your compassion, that you can speak to us today through your Ruach HaKodesh, that you can prepare us in the time that we are living in order to be closer to you, understanding your purposes for us, understanding what we have to do in order to be closer to you. But there are so many troubles that your people are going through these times. I want to pray for them. I want to ask you, Abba, for your love and your compassion, your chesed, and your loving commitment. That you can pour out your ruach in us in order to live a new life, the life that you have intended for all of us. And through that, that you can touch all your people, no matter where we are. That you can heal the sick. That you can provide to those that are in need. That you can open a door for those that are in troubles, in order for them to go out of any situation that is troubling them. We have decided to trust in you. We have decided to trust in you and not in man. And for that reason, we ask in this moment that you can guide our steps. I pray especially for Debbie. You know her condition. And I want to ask you, in this moment, that in this Shabbat you can touch her, can reestablish her body. We believe in you with all our heart. And we seek your face continually, trusting that you are hearing our voice, that you are the one helping us on the way. That's why in this moment, we invite you, be with us. We invite you to make us a had in you in this gathering. And we invite you that you can teach us of your truth. Thank you, Abba, for your mercies. Thank you for your love. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. Oof. So let's start. I think, you know, I have been watching the news, and most probably you have been doing the same. And it's interesting to see how the world is going in one direction that is totally opposite to the intention of the truth of Yahuwah. And sometimes we are feeling that the world is falling apart. And there's so much hopelessness in this world, especially in the new generations, that I think that's one of the most important aspects of our calling, is that we need to bring hope, that we need to bring light, to bring righteousness. We need to bring the truth of Yahuwah. Because by knowing the truth is the way that we are going to be able to bring the hope that is in Yahuwah. And there's so much division. And this is exactly one of the points that, when we were studying this portion, we were able to see. So let me share the screen with you, and we will go through the chapter 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to be able to see what are the parallels to what we see today in the world. So let's start in chapter 1, verse 1, and let's read together. If you have your scripture, your Bible with you, take it. I know that maybe it's a different translation, but read along with me. So let's start in verse 1, and it says, "And it came to be after the death of Shaul, when David had returned from striking the Amalekites, that David remained 2 days in Ziklag. And it came to be on the third day that, see, a man came out of the camp from Shaul with his garments torn and dust on his head. And it came to be when he came to David that he fell to the ground and did obeisance." So let's recap and let's remember what was the situation. David was living in the land of the Philistines. The king Achish. He was the one accepting David to be protected somehow in the land of the Philistines. And he gave this place Ziklag for David to dwell in. And if you remember, the last portion in the book of First Samuel is that David was forbidden by the Philistines, the princes of the Philistines, to go to the war with Israel. And that was, there was a commenting last week, that was a way that for Yahuwah to protect David. Can you imagine David fighting against Israel? Or David uh, being in the middle of the battles with the commitment somehow he has with the Achish, but in the middle between Achish and also Israel was going to be a very difficult time for David. And Yahuwah was so compassionate on him that he saved him from that situation. But David was a stranger. He was a sojourner. He was not able to come back to Yehuda, to the land of Israel. He was still in the land of the Philistine. That was the city of Ziklag. So, all of this happened. This word we were reading that Shaul died, and this chapter is expanding a little bit more of what happened. So David was in this situation, not able to come back, being persecuted by Shaul, being in a strange land, with the desire of his heart to go back, with the promises of Yahuwah to inherit the land, with the promises of Yahuwah to be the anointed, to be the king over the land. And now that I'm speaking to you all of this is a perfect picture of you and me in these days. We are strangers in the land. We are sojourners. We are not in the place that Yahuwah has prepared for us. We are with the desire in our heart to be in that place, to come back to the inheritance that Yahuwah has prepared for us. But we are unable to do it. We have the promises of Yahuwah that we are going to be kings and priests. We have the promises of Yahuwah that through Yahushua, we are part of his kingdom and we are part of the people of Israel. But we are not there. Is from, the scenario is so similar. So that's why we need to reflect ourselves in the life of David. what he was going through. And even in the middle of the difficulties, Yahuwah was with him. And that's why, David was a man after the heart of Yahuwah. And we need to be the same. We need to feel the same. And that's why, every time that we pray to Yahuwah, we need to ask him to change our heart in order to be like his heart. So, you know, this part of the stories is really, really interesting because it somehow is reflecting what we see happening in the world today, even. So let's continue reading. It says, and David said to him, from where do you come? And he said to him, I have escaped from the camp of Israel. And David said to him, what was the matter? Please inform me. And he said, the people have fled from the battle, and also many of the people have fallen and are dead. And Shaul and Jehunat and his sons are dead too. And David said to the young men who informed him, how do you know that Shaul and Jehunat and his sons are dead? He was not able to believe what he was hearing because Yahuwah was protecting Israel all the time. But in this moment, something different happened. And we know that David was protecting somehow Saul, no matter if Saul was persecuting him, because he acknowledged that Saul was the anointed of Yahuwah. And we know that he had a covenant with Jehonathan, with Jonathan. And he was a very dear friend of him. So see, he was not able and able to understand what he was hearing. He was not able to believe what he was hearing. So that's why we see in this question he wanted to confirm that what he was hearing was truth. We always go through similar situations. Sometimes we see the world that is around us falling apart. Sometimes we see situations happening that we are not able to believe it. But if we trust in Yahweh, if we trust in Him always, He will reveal His purposes to us. And even when we see situations happening around us that we believe that are not right according to our own understanding and according to our own eyes, maybe they are right in the eyes of Yahweh. And that's why it's so important that we seek His face and His truth. So it says, and the young man in the verse 6 informed him, said, by chance I was on Mount Gilboa and saw Shaul leaning on his spear, and see the chariots and horsemen follow hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called to me. And I answered, here I am. And he said to me, who are you? So I answered him, I am an Amalekite. And he said to me, please stand over me and put me to death, for agony has seized me, but my life is still in me. So I stood beside him and I put him to death, for I knew he would not live after he had fallen. And I took the diadem that was on his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them here to my master. And David took hold of his garment and tore them, and also all the men who were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Shaul and for Jehunat and his son, and for the people of Yahuwah and for the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. Let's continue reading. Then David asked the young man who informed him, where are you from? And he answered, I am the son of a sojourner, an Amalekite. And David said to him, how was it you were not afraid to stretch out your hand to destroy the anointed of Yahuwah? And David called one of the young men and said, draw near and follow him. And he struck him so that he died. And David said to him, your blood is on your own head, for your own mouth has witnessed against you, saying, I myself have put to death the anointed of Yahuwah. So, this part is very interesting because let's remember that David was even having the chance to put Shaul to death, to kill Shaul. And even though that his servants, the servants of David, was pushing him to do it, he didn't do it because he knew that the anointing of Yahuwah was in Shaul. He knew also that Shaul was rejected by Yahuwah because of his rebellious. But he acknowledged that he was chosen by Yahuwah, and he showed this respect for him. And that's why, he reacted in this way, acknowledging that no one should be able to raise his hand against the anointed of Yahuwah. But this person did it. And, that speak a lot of the heart to us, of the heart, what was in the heart of David. He respected Shaul, but not only Shaul. He respected and he trusted in Yahuwah with all his heart. And he acknowledged that was Yahuwah, the one chosen Shaul to be the head of Israel. And that's why, we need to follow the example of David. And why I'm saying this, sometimes I've seen people that said that they believe, but their actions are totally different. No trusting completely and no acknowledging what Yahuwah has revealing His word. Other group of people that doesn't believe in Yahushua as the Messiah and don't acknowledge what He has done for us. Other group of people that maybe are not used to the manifestation of the Ruach. And sometimes we are not giving the space for to Yahuwah to do amazing things in us. What David was doing here? He was acknowledging what Yahuwah did with Shaul at the end, till the end. He was respecting what Shaul was, the anointed of Yahuwah. And the anointing is so much important to us because it's a reflection of the Ruach HaKodesh in us. We have been called to be kings and priests. We have been called for the anointing. And Yahushua was saying that we were going to receive the Ruach, the anointing that is coming from above. Yahushua is the King of Kings. So in the same way that David was, being so humble in his heart, that no matter he knew that he was the anointed of Yahuwah as well, he had this respect for Shaul until the end. And in this world today, the word respect, I think, is not being used that much. The new generations doesn't know that word that much. And if we want to be really a peculiar people, we need to follow the example of David, and we need to follow, what Yahuwah is showing us, what is in his heart. To have the respect for everyone, but to have the respect, most importantly, to Yahuwah and what he wants to do in our lives. So, what's going on here. This is really, really interesting because, the king was dead. Shaul was the king by them. The mighty ones were falling. The world they knew at the time was falling apart. They were like a sheep without a shepherd. And but if we understand the plan of Yahuwah was a kind of transition, this kingdom that was given to Shaul was going down. But what was the purpose from Yahuwah? Is to raise up the new king and to establish the kingdom as he was planning to do it with the rightful king, David. But first, the first thing we see here is that world at that time going down and falling apart. So let's continue reading because I want to expand in this point later on. So it says in the verse 17, then David lamented with this lamentation over Shaul and over Jehonathan his son. And he ordered the bow to be taught to the children of Yehuda. See, it is written in the book of Yashar, the splendor of Israel is slain on your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Declare it not in Gad. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon. Lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice. Lest the daughter of the uncircumcised exult. Mountains of Gilboa, no dew or rain be upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty lay rejected, the shield of Shaul not anointed with oil, from the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty. The bow of Jehonathan did not turn back, and the sword of Shaul did not return empty. Shaul and Jehonathan were beloved and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. Daughters of Israel, weep over Shaul, who wrapped you in scarlet with finery, who decked your robes with ornament of gold. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jehonathan was slain in your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jehonathan. You have been very pleasant to me. Your love to me was wondrous, surpassing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of battle perish. No, that was in the heart of David. And you know what caught my attention, most importantly, is in the way that Yahuwah was preparing everything. If we remember what's happening, it's said here the Gibborim, the mighty, have fallen. What was happening when Israel was coming out of Mizraim? Something very similar happened. The mighty ones, the gods of Mizraim, of Egypt, were destroyed by the awesome power of Yahuwah. The firstborn were dead. All the world of the Egyptians was falling apart. Why? Because Yahuwah was rescuing his people. We see here something very similar happening. And if we go back before that point, if we go back to the story of Israel as we study the scripture, we see similar things happening. Distress happening before joy, storm before calm. And during the storm, the mighty can fall. Can you imagine what happened, with the first believers when they saw that the disciples of Mashiach were dying? You know what happened with James, Jacob in the book of Acts? He was killed. All this persecution arose. We see the world falling apart for them. Can you imagine what was going on in the first believer when they saw the destruction of Jerusalem? As Mashiach said, no matter that they believed in prophecy and they believed in the words of Mashiach and they knew that this was happening because it was the plan of Yahuwah, they saw their world falling apart. Most of them were dying. But Yahuwah had a purpose always. And that's why it's so important that we trust in Him at all times. When Yahushua is saying that we need to pick our stick and follow Him, that if they persecuted Him, they are going to persecute us. Is that is to prepare us for anything that can happen, is to prepare our heart to be always beside Him, is to prepare our mind, our emotions, our heart, and our ruach to understand that we have made a decision to follow Him, that in Him there is hope no matter what's going on around us. And this is exactly what was happening here, and actually this is being expanded a little bit more in the next chapters, I think in the next portion for next week, is that everybody was seeing that their world was falling apart and they were losing hope. If you think what's going on in the world today, you can see a similar thing happening. Everybody that is trusting in the system of the world, and most probably we have been used because we have been born in the system. We have been working and living according to what the humanity has been creating for so many years. And we see, everything falling apart, everything going in a different directions and sometimes opposite directions with different groups. And there's so much fear was coming. There's so much fear. You know, the important men are falling. Even if we think in our family, and we believe, and we look into our own group of believers around the world, we see things happening as well, like the world, our world, falling apart. But that's why we are invited by Yahuwah not to look with these physical eyes, is to see with our spiritual eyes, understanding what His purpose behind the scenes, what His more deeper purpose in everything that's happening. No matter that our world is falling apart, no matter that maybe the private and personal world is falling apart, especially in those times when we need to seek the most Yahuwah, because He is the one that is going to reveal to us what His plan. He is going to be the one that's going to sustain us during the troubles. He is going to be the one that He is going to provide to us to all our needs, and He is the one who is going to strengthen our heart and our emunah, our faith during the difficult times. But even if we see that the world is falling apart, we need to remember that He's always in control. And maybe this needs to happen in order to go through the storm and to be part of the sunny day, to be part of the calm after the storm. So let's continue reading the chapter 2, because all of this is connected, just to expand on what I'm sharing with you. So it says in the chapter 2, verse 1, and it came to be afterwards that David inquired of Yahuwah, saying, he was in the land of the stranger, he was a sojourner. He didn't know what to do. Shaul was no more. Jehonadab was no more. The kingdom was divided without a shepherd. David was in a different land. He needed directions. And this is a perfect example what we have to do in any situation, especially when we are going through difficulties, is to ask and inquire of Yahuwah. And he did exactly that, saying, do I go up to any of the cities of Yehuda? And Yahuwah said to him, go up. And David said, where should I go up? He said, to Hebron. So he had the desire on his heart to go back to the inheritance. But he respected so much Yahuwah that he didn't do it according to his own understanding. He was seeking first the will of Yahuwah. And that's exactly what we need to do in any of our decisions. We need to seek the wisdom and the will of Yahuwah before we do anything. So this is exactly what David did. And he said in the verse 2, and David went up there, and as well as his two wives, Ahinoam the Israelites, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. And David brought up the men who were with him, each man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Yehuda came and anointed David, sovereign over the house of Yehuda there. They also reported to David, saying, the men of Jabesh Gilad are they who buried Shaul. David then sent the messengers to the men of Jabesh Gilad and said to them, you are blessed of Yahuwah, for you have shown this loving commitment to your master, to Shaul, that you buried him. Now Yahuwah show loving commitment and truth to you. And I am also going to do you good, because you have done this deed. And now let your hands be strengthened and be brave, for your master Shaul is dead. And also the house of Yehuda has anointed me sovereign over them. So, it's interesting to see about the respect, about being respectful of what Yahuwah has been doing for his people and for different persons. It's exactly, we see the example here with the people of Yabesh Gilad. If you remember, when we were studying this in the book of Judges, Shofetim, the people of Jabesh Gilad were the ones that were being persecuted by a king from Moab or Ammon. I don't remember exactly. And he was the one that he wanted to make. They wanted to make a covenant with this king that wanted to destroy them. But the covenant from this king, I think, is in the book of Judges, chapter 21, if I'm not mistaken. He said, "Okay, I'm going to do a covenant with you, but I'm going to remove your right eye. So in that way, I'm bringing reproach over Israel." And what happened? You know, they asked for a little bit of time in order to see somebody to help them. And that somebody was Shaul. He was just recently anointed to be king over Israel. And if you remember, we were reading this that the Ruach came mightily over Shaul, and he was leading battle and leading Israel in order to battle this king. And he was the one able to save the people of Jabesh Gilad. So, can you see the loving commitment? And that's part, what David is saying. You have shown loving commitment. And they were showing loving commitment to Shaul because they remembered what he did for them. Every time that we do a good action, every time that we perform the will of Yahuwah, something happened. Maybe not immediately, but with time it happens. Good deeds create this kind of memory in people. And we see it clearly here. Is that when our heart is right, and when we have the chance to show loving commitment as they did, we have to do it because that's the heart in the heart of Yahuwah. Especially in these times of difficulties, if we see brothers or sisters going through difficulties, it's the time to show loving commitment. If we see our families going through difficulties or friends going through difficulties, it's the time to show loving commitment. Because sometimes it's without words that we are able to bring the light of Yahuwah, is through our actions. And when we combine both of them, words and actions, the message is so powerful, is that the Ruach can manifest himself in everything that we do. It's not only by believing, it's by doing as well. So, this is like seeds. We put the seed of loving commitment in order to harvest loving commitment later on. And it was, so important to David that even he committed and vowed that he was going to do good to them as well. But, something happened if we continue reading. And this is an interesting story. And before that, what is interesting here, and we were discussing some time ago, is that we see the division here. Division between the house of Yehuda, because it was the men of Yehuda that they anointed David to be sovereign, to be king over the house of Yehuda, is Judah. And we don't know what's happening with the rest of the tribes. And this is exactly what we are going to read now in the verse 8. It says, "But Abner, son of Ner, commander of the army of Shaul, took Ishbosheth, the son of Shaul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and set him up to reign over Gilad, and over the Asherite, and over Israel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, son of Shaul, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. Only the house of Yehuda followed David." So, what's going on here? We see division. And it says actually in the verse 11, "And the time that David was sovereign in Hebron over the house of Yehuda was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, son of Shaul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon." So we see the division of the houses, even before the houses split in the kingdom of Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. This split already happened. And even if we think before, that split was already there, even between the house of David and the house of Shaul. There was a group following David, another group following Shaul. Even Shmuel was anointing David while Shaul was still king. So I see a great split happening. And what was the purpose of that split? It's in order to bring the purpose of Yahuwah to set David, the righteous king, as the king over all Israel. So, when I was reading this, it's something that it caught my attention so much. Is that what we see happening in the world today is a great split. It's a great division. We can go to the political arena or many, many other things, but let's not go there. Let's talk in general that what we see happening in the world. And we see this great division happening. One group and another group. One type of thoughts or thinking and another different, opposite type of thinking. One type of values and another different type of values. And we see in the scripture in many places that this type of opposing directions and opposite sides really exist from the very beginning. Light against darkness, righteousness and unrighteousness. And when I was started to think on this, it's so amazing to see that before or as part of the plan of Yahuwah, there's been always a split, a division before. If we go, to the very beginning, we had two sons. We have Abel and Cain. And there wasn't split, a division, because one was righteous and the other was unrighteous. We see exactly the same happening in the Tower of Babylon. Everybody was all together. But what Yahuwah brought to them, they brought division in order to avoid more evil to come to the earth. He divided them. He divided humanities by producing this confusion on their tongues, their languages. If we think even in Israel, we are just checking this, what's going on. We see this division between the house of David and the house of Shaul. But also we see at the moment that the two houses split together, there was new division caused by sin. But if we keep in mind that Yahuwah was doing something according to their plan, his eternal plan, the division was part of his plan. And why I'm bringing this up? Because we see this division happening in our world today. We see exactly the same thing that they were facing in this portion, that their world was falling apart. We see, this great division, one people, a group of people following one direction, another group of people following a totally different direction. And just to remember another story, when we see what was happening in the wilderness, the 40 years in the wilderness, when we have this issue with the golden calf, and Moshe was drawing this line on the sand, saying, "Who is from Yahuwah? Come to here." And only the Levites went to him. The same was happening with the situation with Korah. Yahuwah was saying, divide the evildoers and depart from them. Why? Because he was bringing his wrath over them. So when we connect and we understand from that point of view, that division could be part of what Yahuwah does in order to bring his truth. It's just opening our eyes to see what's going on in our world today with a different way. Until let's read together what is written in the book of Matthew. Because this is something that Yahushua said, and I think it's important in order to understand what's happening in the world today. If we go to the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 34 to 39, it says the following, talking about himself, do not think that I have come to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. Yahushua is very clear when he was speaking about this, that he came here in order to cause division. And why is that division? Because of the sword. And we know that the word of Yahuwah is a two-edged sword that is cutting everything. That's the truth of Yahuwah. But the division is part of what Yahushua said that will happen. And it's so interesting and so amazing because when we connected with some parables, let's go to the same book, to chapter 13. Verse 36 and 43. And this is the parable of the darnel, and Yahushua is speaking and giving the right interpretation to this parable to his disciples here. And it says the following, starting in the verse 36. Then having sent the crowds away, Yahushua went into the house, and his taught ones came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the darnel of the field. And he answered and said to them, He who is sowing, the good seed is the son of Adam, and the field is the world. And the good seed, these are the sons of the rain, but the darnel are the sons of the wicked ones. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil. And the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the messengers. As the darnel then is gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be at the end of this age. The son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all the stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So he's talking about the end times. And he's talking once again about a great split, great division between group of peoples. There are multiple parables if you want to bring it over the table. The goats and the sheep, two different group of peoples. So, to the light of the portion that we're studying today, we see this division happening again. With what purpose? Is to establish the kingdom of Yahuwah. He is preparing through division his remnant. He is preparing through that split to guide the hearts of the people to decide what way they will follow. He is preparing the ground for what's coming by the hand of Yahushua HaMashiach. So, if we start looking what's going on in the world with these eyes, our perception will change completely. No matter that maybe it's difficult to see what's happening, maybe it's giving us a lot of uncertainty of what's going to happen tomorrow. By looking into this, with this understanding, is bringing us hope that Yahuwah is the one in control, causing this division to happen in the same way that he caused the division to happen between different groups with the purpose to call his remnant, those ones that are deciding to stay close to him. for what is coming and for the establishment of his kingdom here on earth. Everything that we see in this portion is the preparation for the unification of the kingdom under a righteous king. It's so prophetic and it's so much a foreshadow what's happening and coming to the world by the hand of Yahushua. Is that is exactly what we see happening in our days. The mighty ones from all falling, the system of the world falling apart. And by that, division happening through the people, uncertainty happening in the people. Why? Because Yahuwah is letting the heart of the people to be shown, to understand what is their decisions and their intentions, just to mention and decide what place they are going to be. And this is really powerful because, it's talking directly about the decision we need to make day by day. Let me go quickly to one of the passages, that it came to my heart yesterday. And this is in the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6. And we're going to read verse 1 and 2. And this is Shaul, Paul, talking about this, saying, and working together, we also call upon you not to receive the favor of Elohim in vain. For he says, in an acceptable time, I have heard you, and in a day of deliverance, I have helped you. See, now is the well accepted time. See, now is the day of deliverance. Now is the day of salvation. My interpretation of this passage, when he's saying that now is the day of salvation and now is the day of deliverance, is the attitude we need to have in our day to day. Yesterday is in the past. Tomorrow is not yet a reality. Today is really the moment that Yahuwah is giving us to live. And it is today when we need to make the decision of salvation. It's today, in this moment, is when we need to decide to go and walk in the narrow path instead of going into the broad and wide path that is leading us to destruction, death. We need to follow the narrow path. We need to make the decision of taking the hand of Yahushua, our owner, our Melech, our king, and follow him in the narrow path today. Tomorrow is going to be a new moment. And the tomorrow of today is going to be today of tomorrow. It is funny to mention it like this, but it's true. It's going to be a new present moment. And that present moment is going to be a new decision, a new day for salvation. What I'm trying to say is my interpretation of this passage is that in every moment of our lives, in every day, we need to make a conscious decision for salvation. We need to decide day by day to stay in the narrow path following the step of Yahushua HaMashiach. Because if we don't do it, we are going through the different path. Day by day, especially in these times that we are living, we need to decide in this great division and great split that is happening in the world. And if you believe in the same way that I'm reading this portion today, that this split and great division is part of the plan of Yahuwah, it is today that we need to decide in which side we will be. If we are going to be in the house of the chosen one, or if we are going to be in the house of the rejected one. Because it is exactly what's going on between David and Shaul. David was the chosen one of Yahuwah. Shaul was the rejected one. And this division was happening in order for the people to be prepared for the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah, in order to remove the stumbling blocks. And it's written, in this parable that we were reading about the darner. So it is today, every day, that we need to make the decision for salvation. And let's continue reading because, he's giving so much information and so beautiful words here in this passage. So It is exactly what we are going through and what should be our mindset. It says in the verse 3, giving no cause of stumbling in whatever, so that the service is not blamed. Rather, we commend ourselves as servants of Him in every way, in much endurance, in pressures, in hardships, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in disturbances, in toils, in watchings, in fastings, in cleanness, in knowledge, in patience, in kindness, in the set apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, in love and pain, in the word of truth, in the power of Elohim, through the weapons of righteousness, on the right and on the left, through esteem and disrespect, through evil report and good report, regarded as deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying and see we live, as disciplined and yet not killed, as sad yet always rejoicing, as poor yet enriching many, as having none and yet possessing all. That should be our mindset, understanding that Yahuwah is doing everything for us. It's an important decision. That's why it's a day-to-day option for salvation. Let's go back to 2 Samuel chapter 2. So it says here, starting in verse 13, and Joab, son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met them by the pool of Gihon. And they sat down one on one side of the pool and the other on the other side of the pool. You see, it's still talking about the two groups, divisions happening. And Abner said to Joab, let the young men now rise and compete before us. And Joab said, let them rise. And they rose and went over by number, 12 from Benjamin, followers of Ishbosheth, son of Shaul, and 12 from the servants of David. And each man took hold of his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side. And they fell down together. This is such a interesting game that they were doing here. Don't try this at home, basically. So that place was called the field of sharp swords, which is in Gihon. And the battle was fierce that day. And Abner and the men of Israel were smitten before the servants of David. You see, one house increasing and the other house decreasing. And this is important because we see this being mentioned in the chapter 3. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab and Abishai and Hazael. And Hazael was light on his feet and as one of the gazelles in field. And Hazael pursued Abner, and in going he did not turn aside to the right or to the left from following Abner. And Abner looked behind him and said, are you Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, turn aside to your right, nor to your left, and lay hold on one of the young men and take his armor for yourself. But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. He was persecuting Abner, And Abner again said to Asahel, turn aside from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I face your brother Joab? He didn't want to do any harm to this person, but he was continue pursuing and persecuting Abner. But he refused to turn aside, and Abner struck him with the blunt end of the spear in the stomach, so that the spear came out of his back, and he fell down there and died on the spot. And it came to be that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still. And Joab and Abishai pursued Abner. And the sun was going down, and they came to the hill of Ammah, which overlooks Giyah by the way of the wilderness of Gihon. And let me stop there for a minute. Sometimes we fall in the same behavior. This great division was in place. This game between the two groups was being pushed over the people. And because of that, this great division, they decided to continue persecution. They decided to do what was right in their own eyes. And At the end, something happened because they decided to do it according to their own understanding. This person died. No matter Abner didn't want to kill him. Sorry. Sometimes we made the same mistakes. We get into the situation instead of waiting and consulting with Yahuwah, following the same examples as David. We like to enter into the discussion. Think about what's going on today. And you know what I'm referring so much about the division of today because it's interesting what's happening in the world. No matter where you are in this world, it's happening exactly the same. If you are living in the US, believe me, what's happening here in my country, in Chile, is happening exactly the same. In other countries in Latin America, it's happening the same. What's going on in Canada, what's going on in Europe. No matter where you see, it's exactly the same thing that's happening, division. And in the same way that these two groups decided to enter into this division and to engage in this division, bad things happened. That wasn't the will of Yahuwah. And I think this is speaking to us on what should be our attitude. In the chapter 3, there are more on this, especially, on what was the attitude of David. But this speaking, what's happening here is that no matter that we understand that Yahuwah is the one doing this, because he has greater purposes for his creation and especially for his people, that we should not engage in this division. Because if we engage, we are doing it because of our own understanding. That is totally different. We had an interesting discussion at home some time ago. Is that if we are being asked of our opinion, and if we see something that is happening, Scripture teaches that we cannot call the bad or the wrong good, or the good wrong. We cannot call what is righteous unrighteous, or we cannot call what is unrighteous righteous. We cannot call evil good or good evil. And this is exactly what's happening today. If somebody's asking us what is our opinion, we need to be clear, bringing the light of Yahuwah about what is good and what is evil. If we see evil happening, it's up to us to do something about it, but always consulting with Yahuwah. Not to do as we see happening in this case, doing this because their own understanding. It's not written that they consulting with Yahuwah what to do. We have been called by Yahuwah to live a righteous life according to the righteousness of his kingdom. And in that way, we're able to bring the light of Yahuwah into this world by speaking and doing what is good in the eyes of Yahuwah. So my main take here is that we should not engage in this type of situations unless Yahuwah is directing and guiding us to do something as he was guiding David. So it says in the verse 24, and Joab and Abishai pursued Abner, and the sun was going down, and they came to the hill of Ammah, which overlooks Yah by the way the wilderness of Gibon. And the children of Benjamin gathered together behind Abner and became a single company, and took their stand on top of a hill. And Abner called to Joab and said, should the sword devour forever? Do you not know that it is bitter in the latter end? And when are you going to say to the people to turn back from pursuing their brothers? So he didn't want to fight. The other people, the other group, even, and this is amazing, the group that was following the house of the chosen one was the one pursuing. Doesn't it speak a lot sometimes to us that sometimes we are judging so much? Sometimes that part of the house of the chosen ones, and we are part of the chosen ones, if we really believe in Yahushua and we are following the way of Yahuwah. Sometimes, we do our own will instead of asking Abba what his will is. The house of the chosen one was persecuting the other group. It shouldn't be like that. We are being called to bring the light of Yahuwah. That should be the attitude of Joab, and we will see as we continue in the chapter 3 what else happened. So it says, and Joab said, as Elohim lives, if you had not spoken, then all the peoples would have given up pursuing their brothers only the next morning. So they will continue pushing and trying to fight. Joab then blew with the shofar, and all the people halted and pursued Israel no further, nor did they fight anymore. And Abner and his men went on all that night through the desert plain and passed over the Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab turned back from pursuing Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there were missing of David's servants 19 men of Asael. But the servants of David had stricken of Benjamin and Abner's men 360 men who died. And they brought Asael and buried him in his father's burial site, which was Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at daybreak. So even we can see the compassion of Yahuwah Elohim, that even that they were following their own understanding, Yahuwah was protecting them in the middle of the division. Only 19 people was missing from the house of David, while 300 were missing from the other house. I see you, Jake. Thank you for joining. I will bring Jake in just a minute. Let me finish here, Jake, and I will bring you to the broadcast. So, the main message here is that is what I was telling you. Division is happening in this world today in the same way that we see happening in this portion. But everything is part of the plan of Yahuwah. And it's up to us to decide what group we are going to belong to. Every day we need to make the decision that we are going to follow the narrow path of Yahuwah, that we are going to follow the step of Yahushua HaMashiach, that no matter that the world is falling apart, no matter that division is happening in the world, that we are not going to engage in that division unless Yahuwah is guiding us to do something different. That division needs to happen, that storm needs to go and needs to appear in order for the calm later on by the hand of Yahushua will come for the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah. So, before going to the last chapter, chapter 3, let me bring my brother here. So, see, hey, Jake, thank you for joining, brother.
Hey, Juan. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, man. Thank you for joining. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Juan. It's good to be here. I wanted to jump on here, and if you still had time or wanted to, I set up a trivia, but just we're not at home right now, but I wanted to be able to join if I could.
That's perfect. We will have time for sure, my brother. So
Awesome.
I don't know if you managed to hear a little bit of the discussion. We are studying the portion of 2 Samuel. We just started, and we are from chapter 1 to chapter 3, and we just studied chapter 1 and 2. And what I was sharing with everybody here is that the similarities of what's happening back then in this portion. The world falling apart of the people, the king was dying, and the division happening over there. But with what's going on in the world today, we see division happening. We see the world falling apart as well. But that was the purpose of Yahuwah in order to establish his kingdom and to establish the righteous king that in this case was David. And that's why we should not fear what's going on. We should not engage in the division that's happening in the world everywhere, because it's part of the plan of Yahuwah in order to have the split between the righteous and the unrighteous. And that's why it's so important for us every day, day by day, that we need to decide. We need to make the decision to be part of the righteous group. That was everything that we were discussing so far. I don't know if you want to share something, Jake, on this
No,
point or anything that you managed to hear.
Yeah, I
All right.
just was able to just now tune in. So I'll let you maybe finish up chapter 3. But I did go and find some really hard questions from the first 3 chapters of 2 Samuel for some trivia at the end. So I'll save some of those till we're done doing the study. But yeah, so important what you're saying. And then I'll let you continue on into chapter 3. One is, yeah, really, we can see whenever things fall down around us, it really is a test to our faith, to see if we're true or not. And I think we saw regularly here in Second Samuel chapter 1 some really good opportunities for David to kind of boast, right? To
Yeah.
gloat for what happened to Saul, for example, and so the different things, and we saw that David started to pass these tests, and I think that's only something we can continue to learn from. To when our enemies fall around us, right, to not boast about it, because they're God's creation too. They're Yah's creation, and just yeah, that's all I'll say. But we can go ahead and continue on, I think.
Sure, sure. So let me share the screen here so we can be the two of us here. And so here we go. Perfect. So this one, okay, here. So in chapter 3, this is a kind of continuation of the same thing in my point of view, and we see this division happening. We just start in the verse 1. It says, "And the fighting between the house of Shaul and the house of David was long drawn out. But David was going on and was strong, and the house of Shaul was going on and was weak." And I was when I was reading this, I remembered something that John the Baptist was saying on the same thing. And let me go quickly. This is in the book of John, chapter 3, verse 30th. And this is exactly what he said when the disciples of John the Baptist were saying about what Yahushua was doing. He said, "It is right for him to increase, but me to decrease." And it's exactly the same behavior that we see, and what's the plan of Yahuwah. He's setting up rings, and he's causing this division in order to bring another part of the plan. And that's why it's so important, as I was saying before, is that we need to trust in him, because sometimes he does things in ways that we don't understand. Everything that we see that maybe is falling and being destroyed and being divided, but it's because Yahuwah is letting that happen in order to establish his plan and his righteous plan and righteous kingdom. So let's go back to Samuel, and it says, and the sons were born to David in Hebron, and his firstborn was Ammon by Ahinoam, his second Kilab by Abigail, the widow of Nabal, and the third Absalom, son of Maachah, the daughter of Talmai, and the fourth Adonijah, son of Haggith, and the fifth Zephaniah, son of Abital, and the sixth Jithream by David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. So that was used in the kings in the past to have multiple childs. And, we can see it in different aspects. It's part of the commandment of Yahuwah in order to multiply and to be fruitful. But also from a political point of view, they needed to have a big family, considering that, they need to set and continue the kingdom later on. So it says, "And it came to be," in the verse 6, "while there was fighting between the house of Shaul and the house of David, that Abner was strengthening himself in the house of Shaul. And Shaul had a concubine, whose name was Ritzpah, daughter of Ayah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, 'Why have you gone into my father's concubine?' And Abner was very displeased at the words of Ishbosheth, and said, 'Am I a dog's head that belongs to Yehudah, that I show loving commitment to the house of Shaul your father, to his brothers and to his friends today, and have not let you fall into the hands of David? And you charge me today with a sin concerning this woman?'" And what's happening here, because we have this dispute between the descendant of Shaul and Abner, that if I'm not wrong, he was the uncle of Shaul, Abner. They were relatives. And we have this dispute, and in this moment, something really interesting happened. And in the way that I see it, is a kind of repentance on Abner. He acknowledged that first he made some decisions to put Ishbosheth according to his own understanding, without following Yahuwah Elohim. But now he remembered and he repented. And we see this happening in the coming verses. It says in the verse 9, "Elohim does so to Abner, and more also, if I do not do for David as Yahuwah has sworn to him." So he changed group. He repented. He stopped following the house of Shaul. He acknowledged that the plan of Yahuwah was something different, and he made the decision for salvation that day in order to follow the house of David. And it says in the verse 10 to cause the rain to pass over from the house of Shaul and to raise up the throne of David over Israel and over Yehuda from Dan to Beersheba. And he was unable to answer Abner another word because he feared him. If we continue reading this chapter, it's really interesting because Abner went to talk to David. They made a covenant. Even, it is written here that David said in the verse 15, good, I make a covenant with you. Only one matter I'm asking of you. You do not see my face unless you first bring Michal, daughter of Shaul, when you come to see my face. And just to put a parenthesis here that we were discussing about this point, why David was asking for Michal to go back. And from my point of view, there are two answers. The first one, he was his husband. Michal was his wife. So that's why, from a scriptural point of view, he has some right in this relationship with Michal. That's one way to see it. But there is a second way to see it. And I think this is very beautiful just to understand the heart of David. Is that David made a covenant with Shaul and also with Jonathan. And David was, and actually we'll see, I think in next week portion, that David was trying to protect the seed of Shaul. That was part of the covenant, that the seed and the descendants of Shaul were going to be protected. And the only fact in this way, in the second way to see this request, is because he wanted to protect the seed of Shaul. And Michal, by being close to David, he was going to be able to protect her. So, we can see it in a different eyes. He was being very bad. He was in a different relationship with this guy Paltiel, as we see in the chapter 15. But we see with these eyes that he was trying to be righteous and be truthful to the covenant he made and the promise he made to Shaul to protect his seed. It was, our picture is changed completely. He was doing it for good reasons, not because he wanted to destroy something different. So, just to finish my comment here in the chapter 3, what we see happening is that Abner repented so well, and he decided and acknowledged so much what the Yahuwah had decided for David, that as part of the covenant, he was going to talk with the different tribes. It is written that he spoke in the hearing of Benjamin. He was going to talk with the elders of Israel. And, and at the end, he was talking about this, that David was the chosen one of Yahuwah, also with the people of Judah. But what was happening, and that's why, what I was mentioning before, is that Joab, he was not following completely the will of Yahuwah. And he decided, and this is also a parallel of the revenger of blood that we have been studying in the different Torah cycles. They were revenging the death of his brother, Saul. That's why, at the moment they decided and they heard that David was making a covenant with Abner, they didn't understand. Abner was the one persecuting David and trying to kill David in the past. So they didn't understand that Abner decided to kill David. That Abner decided to acknowledge that David was the anointed one of Yahuwah. But they had a different mindset. They were engaged in the division, as I said before. And that's why speaking a lot to us that we should not follow the same example of them. We should follow the example of David. That David, even, understanding that Abner was the one persecuting him in the past, he decided to be truthful. He decided to make a covenant. He understood what was the plan of Yahuwah. And through Abner, Yahuwah was helping David in order to be established as the king. But Joab followed his own understanding. His brother died. And actually, even David put a curse in Joab that the blood of Abner was not in his head, was in the head of Joab. So again, just to summarize what was my take on this portion. Division, the great split, part of the plan of Yahuwah to establish his kingdom. And it's up to us to follow the example of David. It's up to us to make the decision in our day to day what we are going to do. If we're going to do our will, we're going to engage in these kind of situations, or if we are going to consult with Yahuwah, if we are going to see everything that's happening today in the world with the eyes of Yahuwah, that is part of his plan in order to separate these two houses. The division between two groups is part of the plan of Yahuwah, and it's up to us to decide on what group we are going to belong. If we are going to belong to Yahushua, Mashiach's group, or we are going to belong to the system of the world group. So that's what I had for today, brothers and sisters. And I don't know, Jake, you want to comment on something before we move on to the trivia?
Yeah, just one little interesting input I wanted to share is just this previous week. I was up with some brothers in Iowa at a conference, a music festival, and we studied Numbers chapter 5, and specifically Numbers chapter 5, verse 2 talks about how the people of Israel were commanded to put out of the camp everyone who is leprous or has a discharge, and everyone who is unclean through contact with the dead. And this is a really interesting topic regarding what we saw was the curse of Joab's family, was let there not fail to be somebody who's leprous from his family, is what David cursed him to be. And the reason this is significant is because there's a parallel throughout the scriptures where the outward sign of an inward sin, of the outward sign being leprosy, represented the inward sin of a disloyalty to authority, or grumbling against authority, or in another circumstance, it was also associated with greed. In the case of Elisha and his servant who was greedy, who was leprous. So, in the case of the Torah, we have Miriam, who grumbled against Moses, right? Her leadership, and she manifested in the way of showing leprosy. Like the Most High sent her to become leprous. And what happened to Miriam? She was sent outside of the camp. And in this same circumstance, we have Joab, because he went against kind of what David wanted, which was reconciliation and peace. He then manifested, and his descendants would manifest the outward curse of leprosy. And this is really interesting because it kind of, as a body of believers, it shows us the sins that we should oftentimes put outside of the camp, which would be those who sow discord among the brothers, those who grumble and those who are full of greed are told to be put outside of the camp so that they can't hurt the body, right? And it's not that they're permanently out, because once they deal with that sin outside of the camp, there's always opportunity for reconciliation and repentance from being a backbiter, right? But I just wanted to point that interesting correlation there out with the actual curse that David put on the insubordinate Joab.
That's very interesting, actually, Jake, because it's totally correlated to everything that was sharing as well. What should be our attitude? And the respect. I was talking about respect, and we see this exactly happening with David when he was respecting the Shaul, even in the condition that he was rejected by Yahuwah, he was respecting until the end, after his death. So respect is something that is being forgotten in our world, in the system of the world, in these generations today. And this is something that Yahuwah is teaching us, that we need to respect the authorities, while we are not going astray from the way of Yahuwah. That's why when we see situations like today happening, that we should not engage in them, in those situations. We need to speak the truth always. And if we are being asked on what's our position in certain matter, need to call what is good, good, and what is evil, evil. That's exactly what we need to do. If
Yeah.
not, things like what happened to Joab can happen. A good word, brother. So if we don't have anything else to share, let's go to the trivia, brother. It's good to have trivia. Last week I was not able to join. I was in the chat. You were traveling, so it was not live, so we didn't have trivia. But now we have the chance to do it again.
All right, and I got some really good questions from our previous studies in First Samuel, and also from these past few 3 chapters in Second Samuel. So anybody who wants to join, first place this week, we're going to send a pair of my wife's tzitzits to. So that's going to be first place prize for this week. And I'll go ahead and share the screen here, and you let me know, Juan, if you guys can see.
Let's see. I will let you know.
Okay.
I just want to see the question. You are keeping us intrigued.
Okay, here I got it figured out now. All right, so
Great.
I have my.
Perfect.
Is everybody able to see?
Great. Yes, I think we can see it in the broadcast. Yeah, perfect.
All right, fantastic. All right, everybody, if you want to join the trivia for this week, here's the instructions. Go to menti.com and enter the code 25479924. And we'll see you guys popping in there with the little hearts over to the right. And this is really fun. The reason we're doing this is try to help Virtual House Church be more interactive and fun for the family. And also we want to send you guys some gifts and reward you for your Bible knowledge. That's what, we're trying to do, is get you into the Word. So if you would like to join, go ahead and go to menti.com and enter the code 25479924. And we should be able to see you over on the right side if you want to give us a little heart. And we'll get started here shortly.
Last few trivias has been so fantastic, Jake. The question has been very funny. And I see, everybody has a very good knowledge because competition is being very tough.
Yeah, we've had a couple regular. Uh-oh. I think I've made a mistake on my end. Hold on. It says the voting is closed. Let me let me pop out of here and see if
you need to press C to open voting.
Yeah, let me try to fix this. I apologize, everyone.
Okay. That's because we are live. This is not recorded. We are live, and these kind of things happen.
Yeah, it's sometimes we have these technical difficulties. So
yeah.
Let me just see here. All right.
So let's see. You are including a question from last week as well, Jake, right?
No. Well, should be. These are all new questions.
Okay.
I can fix it. I'm not sure what I did here. One moment, everyone. Sorry for the inconvenience. I wanted to.
No, it's okay, brother. It's okay. So everybody needs to be ready just as soon as the trivia is open, so to participate and to see, what's going to be the result today. It's going to be really interesting.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, it's
And by the way, I see a lot of people connected, so maybe we have a very good participation today, Jake.
oh, I really hope so. um,
Yeah.
all right, give me one more minute here, and maybe if you wanted to share a little, I don't know if you wanted
Go
to
ahead.
discuss a
Yes,
little bit more
sure.
or something. I'm gonna try to fix it on my end, and if not, we can do this next week. But
Let's do the following. I think I already shared the song of last week, but let's do it again, and you will have a few minutes to see we can do a trivia. Okay, I think nobody's is everybody likes to hear the song. So let me put it here, and let's give Jake a minute to fix the trivia. So here we go.
I worship you, Almighty Yah. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty Yah. There is none like you. I worship you, Almighty Yah. There is none like you. I worship you, O Prince of Peace. That is what I long to do. I give you praise, for you are my righteousness. I worship you, Almighty Yah. There is none like you.
Okay, so I think we're ready for the trivia, right?
yeah, we should be good to go now. And if it doesn't work this time, we'll save it till next time. But let me go ahead and share my screen, and
Sure, let's
we'll
try it
get
again.
going. All right, so it's going to be a different code, everyone. So let me jump over here. Can you see my screen all right, Juan?
Yes, I can see your screen, and everybody should be able to see your screen in just a minute. Good.
All righty.
I think everybody see it now.
All right, try this code, everyone, and it should be working. And if you are able to join, go ahead and give it a heart.
Oh, they see the
Sorry for
hearts
the
now.
delay there. Oh, it's working. Okay, fantastic. Awesome, awesome. I'm really excited. This week, once again, our first prize is going to be a special handmade pair of Z-Teats from my wife Sierra. She spends a lot of time and effort working on those, and we're excited just to give a set away for whoever wins first place. Um, we have really enjoyed doing trivia the past few weeks. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully, I'm not coming across too game showy or anything. The motivation once again is just to get people to fall in love with the word and to have fun and to make it a good way for the family to connect and get involved. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and start a countdown. And if you want to join, go ahead and go to menti.com on your phone or on your computer and go to enter the code 99783728. And of course, you can also use the QR code to the right here. And we're gonna let this timer run out, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So really excited, everybody, and Juan, it's great to have you back. I didn't get to catch the first half of the show, but I was madly working on trivia questions so that I could jump here on the end and try to add a little bit to Virtual House Church.
No, that's fantastic, man. You know, it was a blessing to be here then doing this live. Last week was a little bit different. You know, I have the chance to spend some times in the chat last week, something that I'm not able to do when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
So it was good to have this you know, pre-recorded session as well. And now we're
Yeah.
live, and it's also much a blessing.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago when I was hosting and you were still traveling, I really did enjoy just like bouncing back ideas from the chat. So you know, that's another thing that I really enjoyed was being able to see the input and stuff. And hey, so guys, here's the first little activity. If you want to share what you are thankful for today. And the bigger the answer, the more common somebody is saying it. So thank you guys for participating in Virtual House Church and all the people that have joined us over the years and today. Thank you for joining us live. Now, I'm going to add the reason I'm not actually at home right now is Sierra and I, we're attending a marriage conference to work on our relationship and try to apply more biblical principles to how we treat each other. And so that's why we're actually up in Illinois right now, about 7 hours from home. And that's why we're away from home right now. And I was only able to join in on my blurry laptop webcam. But all right, everybody, thank you for adding some. So it looks like the number one is salvation. We have my family, mercy, Shabbat, life. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead and continue on. Everybody joining in. This is your last chance to join. As you can see, if you go to menti.com and use the code 99783728, you'll be able to join in on the trivia here. So we'll get started here, and this is going to be really fun. So, all right, I'll give it another 10 seconds for people to join in, and we'll get going.
Good.
5,
34 people already joined. Good.
4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go. All right, answer fast to get more points. You know how this works, guys. How did King Saul die? An Amalekite beheaded him. He was shot with an arrow. He fell on his sword. His servant killed him. How did King Saul die? We learned this last week as we are finishing up the 1 Samuel portion. So let's see what the answers are. Oh, we got 22 with the right answer. Good job. Let's go ahead and jump to the first leaderboard, see who's done some of their homework. Good job, everyone. Awesome. I'm going to only read the top three as we go through. I got used to reading through everybody, but good job, Lynn. The fastest answer. Now, remember, if you answer fast, you get more points. So you have to also answer right and answer fast. So let's move on to the next question. Question 2 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Whose bones were buried under a tree at Jabesh? Was it Goliath? Was it Abiathar? Was it Samuel? Or was it Saul? Whose bones were buried under a tree at Jabesh? We learned this also last week. And the answer was Saul. King Saul, when they took his body down, the men went up and took him off of the place where he was hung, and they put him under a tree at Jabesh. All right, good job, everyone who got that right. Let's look at the leaderboard. Oh, wow. All right, we have Anna coming into first place, followed by Noah and Lynn. Good job, everyone. Jordy down there with the fastest answer. Let's move on to the next question. Question 3 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. For what offense did Yah kill some of the men of Beth Shemesh? This is in 1 Samuel. They did not kill all of the Amalekites. They looked upon, sorry, the V is supposed to be they. They looked upon the ark, they touched the altar, or they killed the priests of Yah. What's the correct answer? What were some of the men of Beth Shemesh killed for? Oh, my goodness. That's a tough one,
Wow.
everyone. The correct answer was they looked in the ark. They looked upon the ark of the covenant. And that's why I believe it was 70 of the men of Beth Shemesh were dead. So this is going to swap things up a little bit. Good job to the three, Jordy, Lone Wolf, and Katarinu, who got the correct answer. Oh, wow. All right. And so now we still have Anna, Noah, and Lynn, and Katarinu was one of the three who got the fastest and the right answer. So, all right, we're going to go on to the next question here. Question 4 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Who was the last woman to have dinner with King Saul? Sorry, with the double was there. Was King Saul eating dinner with his wife, with the witch of Endor, with his daughter, or with David's wife, who supposedly was also David's wife, Saul's daughter? So might be a trick answer there. Which one? Who was he eating dinner with last? Oh, we got a good amount of people there with the right answer. He had dinner with the witch after asking her to conjure up Samuel. All righty, let's look at the leaderboard here. All righty. Most of the people, sorry, Noah, missed out on that first question. We got a little switch up here. Anna, Lynn, followed by Katarinu. Congratulations, guys. Let's move on to the next question. Question 5 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. What did David do when he learned of Saul's death? What did David do? We learned this in chapter 1. Did he praise Yahuwah? Was he happy? Was he relieved? Or did he weep? What did David do when he learned of Saul's death? Now, this is from 2 Samuel chapter 1. And the answer was he wept. David was sad that Saul died. All right, let's see who answered quickly. We got a little swap up of the leaderboard here, it looks like. And Katarinu moving into first place, followed by Lynn and Jordy. Good job, guys. And it looks like Nate Klein with the fastest answer. Good job, Nate. All right, everybody, we're going to go on to the next question here. Question 6 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. How many men died in the Battle of Gibeon? How many men died in the Battle of Gibeon? Did Israel lose 360 and Judah 20? Did Israel lose 400 and Judah 160? Did Judah lose 360 and 20, or was it 55 and 170? How many men died? Oh, and the correct answer was Israel 360 and Judah 20. We can see that the Most High was really delivering, the men of Judah who were supporting David during these fights. All right, let's go on to the leaderboard here. I know these questions are pretty hard. There's a couple really hard ones coming up. We got a little bit of a shake-up in the leaderboard. Jordy moving into first place. Good job, Jordy. And Nate Klein again with the fastest answer, followed by Katarinu. All right, good job, guys. Here's the next question. Question 7 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. You can still make it up. What happened to Abner after David held a feast for him and sent him away in peace? a lion killed him, a tree killed him. Sorry with the double words. Joab killed him, or he took a nap. What happened after David sent away Abner from his feast? I know I would probably take a nap if I had just had a feast.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking on the same.
Oh, okay. We have the correct answer was Joab killed him. We just read that and talked about how Joab was cursed, his family to have leprosy, which is a outward sign of kind of resenting your authority and grumbling against your authority. So it's very interesting. Good job, everyone. And we have the leaderboard here. A little bit of a shake-up, it looks like. Nate Klein with the fastest answer, but the leaders still hold their spot. Jordy, Nate, and Katarinu. Good job, everyone. All right, we're going to move on to question 8 of 13. 5 more questions left. Here we go. Answer fast to get more points. What was I know this is skipping ahead a little bit, but what was Jonathan's crippled son's name? This is very important because it's how David continued to bless the house of Saul after the fact. Was the name Mephibosheth? Was it Mahiketh? Was it Solomon? Was it Joash? Or was it Eleazar? What was Jonathan's crippled son's name? Oh, and we got a good 23 people with the right answer. Mephibosheth was the name of the boy who was dropped as David and his line took over the throne. His nursemaid dropped him as they were fleeing to escape, but he is the one who David blessed and brought into his household. We learned that later on. Good job, everyone. All right, let's see what it looks like. Okay, not much of a change there. Jordy, Nate, and Katarinu still leading the pack. Let's go on to the next question. They're going to get pretty hard. There's some really hard ones, everyone. Get ready. Where did David's mighty men first gather together? This is from 1 Samuel. Was it in Jerusalem? Was it the cave of Adullam? Was it at Gath? Was it at Haifa? Or was it the cave of Machpelah? Where did David's mighty men, all the vagabonds, all the men with debt to Saul, where did they gather? Oh, we got 12 people with the correct answer. It was the cave of Adullam. Good job. Good job.
It was a difficult one.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Oh, and we only had 3 people on the leaderboard with the right answer. Good job, Nate, with pulling off the right answer. We have Nate moving into first place, followed by Jordy and Katarinu. And Anna down there with the fastest answer. Good job, Anna. All right, let's move on to question 10 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Where did the men of Judah anoint David as king? Where did the men of Judah anoint David as king? Was it at Hebron? Was it at Hormuz? Was it at Gideon? Was it at Samaria? Or the other very significant biblical location, Shechem? Where did the men of Judah anoint David as king? 3 seconds. And 19 people with the correct answer. It was at Hebron. The men of Judah anointed David at Hebron after Saul passed away. And we have here the leaderboard. Okay. All right. Katarinu with the fastest answer. Good job. Nate really with a strong lead, followed by Jordy. Good job, guys. We only have 3 questions left. Question 11 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Whose words are these? Am I not better to thee than 10 sons? This is a very hard one, everyone. Think carefully. This is in 1 Samuel. Whose words are these? Am I not better to thee than 10 sons? Was it Elkanah? Was it David? Was it Jonathan, Samuel, or Joab? Who said these words? Oh, I know it's a hard one. It was from way back in 1 Samuel. The answer was Elkanah said, am I not better to thee than 10 sons? Good job. Let's see who got the right answer. Oh, Katarinu, very fast. What's going to happen? Oh, we have a shakeup. Jordy moving into first place, followed by Katarinu and Nate. And MBM McNimar, good job. Fastest answer for that question. Good job, MBM. All right, guys, let's move on to the last two questions. These are the last two questions to pull it off. So leaders, have your answers ready. Don't tap the wrong one, or you might get bumped out of the leaderboard. Question 12 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Who was the father of Joab? Who was the father of Joab? This is a really hard one.
Yeah,
Was
that's
it
a hard.
Zerathar? Was it Zorro? Was it Zimri? Was it Zelkana? Or was it Zeruiah? Zerathar? Zorro? Zimri? Zelkana? Or Zeruiah? Who was Joab's father? Oh, and we have the right answer was Zeruiah. Oh man! So let's see how that. I'm glad nobody answered Zorro. I'm proud of you guys. Good job. And the oh, we have the leaderboard. Maybe he's gonna be swapped. Oh, we have Lynn, Rebecca, and Jordy, and Lillian with the fastest answer, followed by Katarina and Nate. Oh boy, this is the last question. Hey guys, listen, this is a difficult one. This final question, and you guys are all very, very close. So this is a final question for the trivia. And are you ready? Here we go. Question 13 of 13. Answer fast to get more points. Who was David's third son? Who was David's third son? Amnon, Chaleb, Adonijah, Absalom, or Zeruiah? Who is David's third son? Oh boy. Oh, and 18 people with the right answer. It was Absalom.
Very good.
Job. Good job, everyone. All right, let's see who our winner for this week's Virtual House Church Trivia is. Thank you, everybody, for playing once again. Much appreciate your participation. And it looks like Rebecca. Good job, Rebecca. I am so wow, you just came out of nowhere and took the top 3 in the last few questions. Good job, Rebecca. And now you're a winner of a set of Z-Teats that my wife makes. And I'll have information on this next screen if you wouldn't mind. Actually, I might have missed that slide, but if you want to, Rebecca, email me at simplyprodigal@gmail.com. That's simplyprodigal@gmail.com, and we'll get you your prize sent out next week. Thank you, everyone else, for participating. Now, for this next page, before we wrap up Virtual House Church, just a quick prayer page. How can Virtual House Church family pray for you today? We have somebody sharing, their children are traveling, people praying for travels, debt relief. Somebody needs prayer for their right shoulder. Somebody saying, break this yoke from off us and cast our bonds asunder. We have somebody grieving over the loss of a best friend. Somebody praying for their mother. Please pray for their mother for salvation. Pray for a home for someone's family. Somebody needs healing. Abba, Father, please meet all these prayer requests. Father, teach our Virtual House Church family to pray for each other and give us the right words to speak as we pray for one another and encourage one another. This is one thing I do love about this software, Juan, is we can tack this on the end of the trivia and people can see what the needs of the community is. People can see what people are dealing with because we're all going through different things, and we need to keep it in mind. Abba, Father, I pray that all these prayer requests are met. Father, all the health needs, all the financial needs, all the prayers for family. Father, Abba, Father, I ask that you grant all of these requests, Father, and let your will be done in our lives. Thank you, Abba, Father, for the Virtual House Church family. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your needs and participating this week and being a live audience that can talk and share and be in the chat and give feedback.
This is beautiful, Jake. Just to see the different requests. I have been sharing this in the past that in our prayers we need to be very specific. just having the chance to see what are the requests, all of us, we can be very specific to pray for one another.
Absolutely. All right, Juan. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and close out here. And yeah,
Yep.
that's all I got for today.
Thank you so much, JK. I think it was a very, as always, a very, very nice trivia. And I saw part of the chat that somebody wrote is that this is a very good way to keep learning. Just to have questions and multiple answers. This is something that is much easier to record everything that we're studying in our minds, in our heart. So and at the same time, it's funny. So so it's just to have some fun. This is really good. So for next week, I'm still working in the portions. Next week, though, we are gonna continue with the chapter 4, 5, and 6 of Second Samuel. So if everybody wants to start doing their homeworks and reading this portion and to come and share it in the chat next week, most probably what we can try to do, Jake, as you mentioned previously, we can start seeing some questions or comments in the chat just to make it more interactive, and that's going to be good. So start reading chapter 4, 5, and 6 of Second Samuel. This is exactly what we are going to study next week. So Jake, thank you so much for joining and leading us in the trivia and everything you share. I hope to see you next week.
Shabbat Shalom, Juan. It's great to be able to jump on here briefly and see you guys next week.
Shabbat Shalom, brother. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, Virtual House Church. I hope to see you all next week. Have a wonderful week. Have a blessed week. I hope that Yahuwah will lead your step, that He's going to answer all your prayers. We'll be praying for all of you. And again, let's stay firm in the way of Yahuwah. Let's understand that He is beside us and we need to get closer to Him. That's the way that He's going to protect us from everything, that He is going the one supporting us and providing to us everything we need. So thank you so much for joining us. Shabbat Shalom. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
יברכך יחוה וישמרך יאר יחוה פניו לך וחונקה יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך שלום. יישא יחוה פניו לך ויעשה לך שלום. ויעשה לך שלום. ויעשה לך Shalom. Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Yahuwah make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. resplandecer su rostro en ti. Tenga de ti compasión. Yahuwah, alce su rostro sobre ti. Te dé paz, te dé paz.